So hello everyone. Okay, I'm audible. Can anyone can confirm?
Yes, you are audible, Nandini.
Oh, okay. Thanks, John. Thanks. So let's start our webinar. Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar on underground passageways, navigating the world of credential theft. I'm Nandini Bharadwaj, the operating officer at Cyber Warfare Labs, and I'm really excited to have you all here with us today. So let's move on to the slide. Okay, so here I'm about to give you an introduction about our company, that is Cyber Warfare Labs. So Cyber Warfare Labs, a UK-based edtech company. The company is committed to addressing cybersecurity challenges with real-time hands-on solution. Our virtual platform allow user to refine their skills through plug-and-play practical labs and a diverse range of certification courses. So our company has two main divisions that is Cyber Range Lab. So what basically Cyber Range Lab is that it focuses on providing practical real-time solution to cybersecurity challenges, and also they offer a virtual platform where user can engage in hands-on trainings through practical labs that are ready to use. And the second one is upscaling platform. So Cyber Warfare Labs offer a wide range of on-demand courses designed for individual at all skills level, and their instructor-led training services are available to educational institute, government agencies, corporate organization, and as well as the individuals. That is available both online and offline training options. And here you can see this is our structure of our organization that consists of blue team, purple team, and red team, and some popular cloud vendors such as Amazon, Azure, and GCP. Okay, so I guess we can move to next slide. Okay, so like before we dive into the topic of today's webinar, so I would like to introduce our speaker of today webinar, that is John Surgeon. So John Surgeon is a red team security researcher at Cyber Warfare Labs, and he is an expert in reverse engineering, malware analysis, and Windows internal. Currently, he is focused on EV/EDR evasion projects, and today we will hear from John tap into his knowledge of credential theft. So I guess it's all about the speaker, and moving on. So like if you have any question related to any topic, just feel free to ask at the end of the webinar, or you can also type them into the text box given to you in the GoToWebinar. And also the main information that we will be providing you the attendance certificate within 48 hours, and the video recording for the same. So I guess that's it. And so from here, so without further ado, I would like John to take over and let's get started. Thank you all, and I hope you will enjoy today's webinar and gain more useful and knowledge from today's webinar. Thanks.
Hi, I think my screen is visible and I'm audible. Can anybody confirm me that I'm audible? Okay, so without wasting any time, let's begin with the today's webinar. So thank you everyone for taking out your time and joining this session today. So today we are going to discuss a little bit about the credential theft, and these are the content that we are going to cover in this webinar. So we will briefly discuss on different forms of credential theft that attacker can perform, and we will discuss a little bit on the credential theft tool, and then we will also be looking into one of the tool which will use to dump the credentials from the LSS process, and there we will be dumping the credentials from the W digest. So we will be looking into this in the next few slides, and the end of this webinar we will be discussing about the offering that our team is providing on our new course called CRT-COI. We will discuss this later. So without wasting any time, let's just continue with our first content, that is the different forms of credential theft. So there are various uh, forms of credential theft that attacker can perform, but these are most common. These are most common. Just a second. Okay, so these are just common form of credential theft techniques that attacker performs. So first is the phishing email, and second is the data breaches, and third is the social engineering attacks, and fourth is the malicious tool. So let's talk about the phishing email. So normally this is the entry point for the attackers to gain into the unauthorized access to the system. So what attacker do is like they will create a legitimate email to the victim of the particular company, or maybe just a victim, and they will trick them into clicking on some links where they will be redirected to the legitimate entities, like the legitimate website, something like that, and then the victim will be tricked into entering the credentials. So this is how like attacker can also get the login credentials of the victim. And other way that they can do is like they will write the phishing email, so they can like compromise one of the user from the company, the email of the one of the user from the company, and from there they will also write the some like legitimate email to the staffs or user that are working in that company, since the compromised user is a legitimate user of that company, so that will looks more appealing, so people will trick into the attackers a trick. And sometimes they also provide the attachment, and whenever the attacker like whenever the victim run that attachment, like the malicious docs or PDF, so whenever victim open up that malicious documents, then they might get unauthorized access in the system as well, and from there on they can extract the credentials with the post exploitation tools. So the next form of credential theft could be the data breaches. So organizations, they usually stores the vast amount of informations like user data or many other informations related to the organization. So sometimes because of the misconfiguration in the server or maybe in the software, the attacker might get hand um, on the data, uh, which must be which might be critical to that company. So they might get unauthorized access to that data, and they can furthermore they can expose the username and passwords, and that can be used for the further assessment in their attacking campaign. And another form of credential theft is the social engineering. So This is where the attacker pursue the victim into doing something. Like maybe the attacker will ask, somehow he will win the trust of the victim, and then he will ask the victim to go into some entities like websites, or maybe some he will ask the user to download into something malicious tool. And let's suppose, like, if the attacker is uh, pursuing the victim into entering the credential detail in the legitimate looking website. So whenever the victim goes and enter the credentials in that website, they can get the credentials from that phishing or from that legitimate looking website as well. So it's kind of like exploiting the trust of the victim to extract the credentials. And another form of credential theft could be using the sophisticated software like keyloggers, mimikatz, or their own custom built scripts. So whenever attacker lands into the computer, like whenever they get the initial access into that computer, they will certainly look for the credentials in that computer. So in that case, they will run bunch of tools that are available in the internet, like mimikatz, or maybe they will also install their own keylogger, or maybe they have their own custom built script which can extract the credentials from the different component that's different components or applications that are running in the system. And so uh, these tools are mainly used in this post-exploitation scenario, like whenever they get initial access in the system, and these tools will be executed. So in this webinar, we will be focused on this credential theft tool, specifically with the tool called mimikatz. So there are a couple of tools that are available in the internet that attacker can use to dump or steal the credentials from the operating system once they land into the victim computer. So mimikatz, one is the mimikatz, which is a really famous tool built by the Benjamin Delphi, and this is really awesome tool. And in the past, and still, the attacker using the mimikatz to dump the credentials of the from the OS. And there is another tool called Lazen. So this is also a really awesome Python tool that will extract uh, all the credentials from the credentials manager, or from the browser, or from the LSS process. So this is also a really awesome tool that will automatically dump every credentials once you execute it. And you have also bunch of options to extract the credentials, to extract the specific credentials using this tool. And there is also another tool called Impacket. So this works in a network level, but it had some Python packages which can use to extract the credentials from a specific component of the OS of the Windows OS. And their attacker can also use the keylogger, so that, like, whenever the user pressed any key, it will be locked, and then that locked keys will be then sent back to the attackers. So this is how, like, the attackers can use the tools. And there are many tools, like, based on what credentials that you are looking for. So there are many tools out there in the internet, and you can also build one, like, based on your analysis and the research. But these are the most commonly used kind of tool in the by the attackers. So this is how mimikatz looks like, and it's built by the Benjamin Delphi. And this is the mimikatz, and this is where you enter the command. So here we will only discuss in the else process, but the ability of the mimikatz goes beyond the else process, so it can extract few different other credentials as well, not just from the else process. So else process holds the credentials like alum hashes, anti-hashes or encrypted passwords. So those will be really important in the lateral movement when the attacker land into the initial computer, because attacker cannot find and might not find anything interesting in the first system where when they land in the first system. So they might need credentials to move laterally or to jump into the other computer in the network. So that's why extracting the credentials from the ALSUS process um, is a like a really good target for the attacker, as well as the antiviruses also monitors any access to the ALSUS process. So we will talk about this later. So first, let's see, Mimikaz has the ability to extract the credentials from the ALSUS process. So in a two form. One is Mimikaz can directly access the ALSUS process, and then it can extract the credentials from the ALSUS process memory, which is running live. Let's say this is the target computer, and if I want to extract the credentials from the ALSUS process of this target computer, then I will simply execute, or maybe attacker simply execute the Mimikatz, and then uh, they will enter the different commands to extract the cadences from the live running process. But the Mimikatz also allows the offline dumping. So in that case, let's say the attacker compromised this particular machine, and he had some trick to dump the ALSS process memory. So in that case, what it does is like it will not execute the Mimikatz in the target system, because running the Mimikatz might also be uh, really critical, because it's a malicious, it's like now categorized in the malicious tool. So even the simple antivirus can detect the Mimikatz if the attacker run the Mimikatz in the system. So an attacker do not want to do that mistake. So sometimes what the attacker does is like they will simply dump the ALSIS process memory, and then they will extract that memory into their own system, and from there they can run the Mimikatz and extract the credentials from that particular LSA system. So in this case, they will avoid running the Mimikatz into the target system. So this tool like can be performed by the Mimikatz tool, and which is really awesome. And here we will be dumping the wdigest credentials using the Mimikatz tool. So it's a type of challenge response protocol which was introduced in the Windows XP, and it was initially used for LDAP and web-based authentication. So now in the default operating system, let's say I'm currently running the Windows 11. So in this system, or in the even Windows 10, this wdigest password caching mechanism is not enabled by default. It's currently disabled. By default, it's disabled, but previously, I guess up to Windows Server 2008, this wdigest password caching feature was enabled. So due to its weakness, this is by default disabled in the modern operating system. So the way it stores the credentials in the ALSIS process memory is really weak. So if the attacker is able to extract that encrypted text, he can able to decrypt the text, because the encrypted text is stored in a reversible encrypted format. That means if the attacker knows the encryption algorithm, then he can perform the decryption as well. So that's why the way wdigest catches the password is little bit weaker. So it's by default disabled. So here is the command that is executed in the Mimikatz. So if we do secure LSA wdigest, And if we hit enter, you can see the password will be null. So there will be no password available here because the caching is disabled. But attacker can also enable the wdigest by modifying the registry. So in this location, in the HKLM system, current control set, control security providers, and wdigest, there they will add the value user login credentials, and it will be set to 1. So if it is set to 1, then the wdigest caching will be enabled. And so this is the step 1. After enabling the wdigest credential, if we perform this run as, and we are just opening the command as this particular user, and here we need to enter the password, and the command prompt will be popped as the system, as the user that is provided here, which is this tilde ops right now. And if we go and perform the secure LSC wdigest command again, we can see the password here. So previously it was just null, and now it is, the password is in a clear text. So you might be wondering, like, why do attacker go and add this value there, use login credential there, if like we need to go and perform the run as user system ops command, and then we are entering the password on our own, and the command is opened, and only after that password is cached. So it's because, like, let's say it depends on the strategy of the attacker as well. So sometimes what attacker does is, like, they might not get the credentials what they were expecting. So what happened is, like, they will register the mimikatz, they will schedule the mimikatz to be executed in at some interval of time, maybe after a week. So maybe the mimikatz is scheduled to execute only at once in a week, maybe Friday, like maybe every Friday in a week, mimikatz is scheduled to execute. So in that case, attacker will already set the use login credential to 1. Now, at the interval of 1 week, maybe the user might have, the user himself might have entered the password somewhere. Maybe when he performed the run as administrator, he might have entered the password there. So he might have, at the week of interval, there is a high chance that the user might have entered the password somewhere. So the password will be cached there. And next time when, after a week, when the mimikatz is executed with this command, it will extract all the informations. And at that time, like at the interval of 1 week, the attacker might be able to get the clear text password. So that's why even it's not deprecated, but even it's a disabled, by default attacker can enable, and then they can dump the credentials from the wdigest. So let's just jump into the lab and see this live. So here we will just run the mimikatz as the administrator, and then we need to elevate the token, and we also need to enable the debug privilege. So we have elevated the token as the system, and we have also enable the debug privilege. Now we will do, and here we just dump the wdigest, and if you look at here, the password is null. So in the session 0 as well, in the session 1 as well, this is the password is null for the tilde ops. So what we do is we will just go to the registry editor. So we'll just do raise edit, and here in the wdigest, if you look at here, it's inside the HKLM system control set, and then control security providers and wdigest. So here we will just add a dword value, which is use log on credential, and we will set this value to 1. Now the cast will be enabled, and then we will open a new command here. Here we will do run as, and then username, and then we will just pop up the command. So before that we will enter the password, and here we just pop up the command prompt as the stealth ops. Now we will again dump the credentials from the wdigest, and here you can see now it is able to extract the plaintext password from the else process for this particular user that we just enter the password here. Okay, so now here we will just dip a little bit deeper into this wdigest. So here we will not discuss on how the wdigest is able to cache the password there. We will not be discussing the internal of the wdigest. So if you want to, then you can there is a reference in the reference sections. There's a link to one blog from the Adam Chester. You can see the XPN in the link, so you can go there and read the blog. So it's really good. There is a really good explanation on like how a little bit on the wdigest, but here we will not be digging into the wdigest, but here we will be looking from the perspective of the tools like Mimikatz, like how this tool is able to extract the credentials. So we will be looking from the perspective of the tools. So we will not be diving into the wdigest, but from the perspective of the tools from now on. So there is a one structure called L underscore log sys list structure. So this is the linked list structure, and this holds the information to the cached credentials. So this is the heading, this is the header of the structure, and this is the tail of the structure, and this is the structure that Mimikatz and other tools will look when they traverse through the LSS process memory. So once they find this structure, so this is how they structure, and this is taken from the Mimikatz itself. So here you can see this is the forward link, so link to the next entry. This is the backward link, and there's a users count. And here is the this, which is pointing at the address of the current entry. And there is the LUID, locally unique identifier. And at the bottom and right below this structure, there is the right of this structure, there is the generic credentials. So there we can find username, domain, and the password. So this is cached by the wdigest in the L underscore log session list. So Mimikatz will go hunt in the memory for this global structure. So this is how it looks like. Inside this log sys handler password set, we can find the structure L underscore log sys list. And if we dump this in the memory, here you can see the first 8 byte, it's the forward link, and the other 8 byte, it's the backward link. And here is the users count, and here is the this, so which is pointing at the particular entry. If you look at here 4350, you can also see 4350, so it's pointing to itself. And there is a LUID, this is the lower bit, and higher bit is empty, higher value is empty, and then so some other informations. And here you can see from the offset 30, it's the LSA Unicode string. So this is the minimum number of string, maximum number of string, and then the empty. And here is the pointer to the username. This one is pointed to the domain, and this one is pointed to the encrypted text. And you can see the minimum length is 6 and the maximum length is 8. So this is the information that Mimic has extract. So we will look into this in a lab later. So here is the flow that Mimic has performs um, to decrypt the OW digest encrypted text, cached encrypted text. So the Mimikaz is really awesome tool. Like the way it provides the detail, the output, the way it organizes the output to the reader, it's really awesome. So you can simply just find the log session list and then perform the LSA unprotect memory, which is basically is bcrypt decrypt function. So you can simply just find this log session list and then pass the password that you retrieve from this pointer into this particular function, and then you will get the decrypted data. But the way Mimikaz does is really awesome. So what it does is like it will first find the lock-on session list, its lock-on session list that's in the system. It extract that from the LSA SRV DL, and once this is once the Mimikaz find the session list, it will traverse through each session from the session list, and after it's inside the first session list, let's say this is the first session, and it will print the session details, and right after that it will look for the l_log session list from the wdigest TLL. And what it does is like the session has its own LUID value. So the session has its own LUID value. So it will go and search, it will go and traverse through this log session list entry list by the value of the LUID of the session. So if the LUID of the session and the LUID of the log sys list of that particular entry matches, then it will select that particular l_log session list, and from there it will retrieve the password, and then the password, encrypted password, will be passed to this LSA unprotect memory, which is actually the bcrypt decrypt function, and that is going to print the decrypted value, and after that it will loop through the another session, and the process continues until the last session. So now we will jump into the lab and see how Mimikaz does from the source code level. Okay, so this is the source code of the Mimikaz, and here is the x64 debugger, which is already running as the system. So let's just attach the else process first. And if you go to the symbols, here you can, it's a really awesome tool. You can simply download and load the Windows symbols. And the one that we are currently focused is on the wdigest. And if you look at here, the symbol is already loaded, and we can simply search the log session list, and then we can dump this in the memory. And if you look at this structure, this is the forward link, this is the backward link, this is the users count. So let me just increase the size. So this is the forward link, this is the backward link, this is the users count, and this is the pointer to itself, 90E0, 90E0, and this is the LUID. And here, if you look at here, this is the username. If we just dump this in the DOM3, you can see this is the still ops username. And the second one, this one is the domain. that's the desktop fv68 at 6e, and the third one is the encrypted password. And here it is the encrypted password, and the maximum length is 8 byte. Okay, so let's see how Mimikatz does this. So we will simply run the debugger, and I have already placed a breakpoint in a location. So you can simply look into the call stack to get the name of that particular function. So this Visual Studio is already running as the administrator. So there is and the privilege, the debug privilege is already enabled by this um, Visual Studio debugger. So we do not need to enable that. Now we just hit the breakpoint, and so this is the starting function of the WSIGES. So once the Mimikatz module find the function, find the particular parse the particular command, it will find this function, and this is the first function. And you can just look into the call stack. You can see from the do local we enter the KUKLM secure LSC WDigest. So whenever we hit the breakpoint, you can track the function from the call stack. So here, if we look at this package, there is a function called creates for LUID function, and this is the callback function for the WDigest. We will be reaching this function later. So for here, just remember there is this function which is called enum logon callback digest, which is set to this create for LUID function. Now we will enter into this function, and here if we look at this function KUKHLM secure LSA enum, so this is going to enumerate all the informations from the LSS process, and it will execute this callback. So this is a different callback function. But the one that is coming from here is a different one. It's the enum logon callback WDigest, and it's the enum callback logon data. So we will see this later. So let's just step into this function. Sorry, so I just enter into this function. Sorry, not this one, but this one, KUHLM secure LSA, acquire LSA. So once the Mimikatz execute these functions, it will what it does is like it will just go and retrieve all the modules that are loaded in an LSS process. So let's do system informer. And here you can see in the modules there are a bunch of DLLs, bunch of modules already loaded here. So what it does is like this function will go through all the modules, and it will select the required modules with its base address and the size and other information as well. And it will create a structure where it will store all those modules information because those modules will be required when performing the memory search and other different operation as well. And second thing, what it does is it will find the keys that are required for the decryption of the WDigest. So AES key, DS key, and then the IV. So these three informations will also be retrieved from the LSS process. And another thing that it retrieves is the session logon data. Okay, so this is the logon session list. So yeah, it will retrieve the information of the logon session. So it will retrieve the logon session list from this function and all the module informations. something like this. And we enter into this function, and here it acquires the LSA. LSA key. Here it's just initializing the key size and all. So here it's just initializing the key size for the 3DS, and here it is initializing the key size for the AS, because later it will extract the AS and DS keys from the LSS process. But actually we are not going to dive into that detail in here. We are just going to focus on the WDigest part. But just remember that these informations will be retrieved from this particular function, which is the secure LSA enum. So from this function, all this information will be retrieved. Sorry, from the secure LSA acquire LSA function. And here you can see it is getting the module information from here. It's just finding the library. It's just finding. So here it is just finding this login session list from here, from the MSP, and it's in the lsasrv.dll. So here it's just looking whether there is the lsasrv.dll or not. If there, then it will just go and find the just go and search for the MSP packages, and from there it will extract the login session list. So we will just script through this, and here it is acquiring the key. So just to be sure, what we do is, so here it is adding to some address. So if I copy this and then go to Control Z and enter this address, you can see we are close to the @des key. So this is what it is trying to retrieve from there. So this DS key is here, somewhere around here. We need to analyze this, but it's somewhere around here, the DS key. So that's what it is trying to retrieve. So it's trying to retrieve the DS key so that it can decrypt the WDigest later. And other one is the AS key. So it will do the same thing, and it will retrieve the AS key and generate the symmetric key with that key. So here with these two functions, it has retrieved and generated the symmetric key from that AS and DS key that is retrieved from the LSS process. Now we will be going out of that function. So we will be skipping most of this part. And here, so here it's just retrieving the information from the login session list. We will be not diving into that much detail for the login session list. But if you are really interested, you can simply copy this and then go to the debugger, and in the dump you can simply dump this, and you will reach to there, and you can start analyzing the memory from here. So all the informations will be here, but we are not really focused on that part for now. But here, if you look at here, we just entered into the loop of that particular list entry of the login session list. So this is the loop. If we look at the chart, we are at this point here, the first one, and we just enter the first session list, and all the session list will be printed here. So this is the session data that is retrieved from the login session list. Now if we just look at the so here first it will call the msecure LSA enum callback login data function. And right now if we look at the output, currently everything is empty here. So once this function is executed, it it will print the session data that is retrieved from the logon session list. So this is the first session of the list. And if you remember, if you remember this particular function, create as for LUID function, so this is the actual callback for the wdigest. And here it is checking whether there is a wdigest DLL present or not in that particular LSASS. So here is the list of LSASS module, and here it is wdigest is present, and it's present, that's why it's 1. And here if I just go and select here, it's looking for the wdigest. So if the wdigest is present here, it will call this callback, and the callback will take us to the function logon callback wdigest. So we will enter into this function. So at this point, assume that it has already retrieved these 3 information. Now here it will search for the wdigest reference. It is looking for the al underscore logon sys list. So that's what it is looking for. You can see al underscore log sys list. Currently this is, if you look at here, this is null. And now we will just go. So this is just performing the pattern search there. So we are not currently interested in this, but just if you look at here, this is the beginning of the search. So here the S memory, it's currently the result is null. So let's just execute this and then copy this result value just to verify that it's looking for the al underscore log session list. We go in the debugger and then scroll, you can see it's close to the al log session list. So this is what it is trying to extract there. And okay, so after the memory search, it will be here, and the log sys list will be set to this address. And if you look at here it is performing the linked list searched by the LUID. So currently we are at this region, so searching the log session list by LUID. And the LUID currently, it's the low part is the 523861. And if we look at here, it's the 52532861. So that's the LUID it is looking for. And let's just dump this first one. If we are lucky, this could be the one that it is looking for. 532861. 532861. So this is the wdigest for this logon session, and it will go and traverse through this list entry. So if we just, this is the forward link. So if we just go here and dump this in forward link in the 5th location, you can see it's the LUID is the same. It's for the session 1, and we can again do this again, and here you can see the LUID is now changed, and there is a username, there's a domain name, but the password is empty there. So let's just dump this into dump 1, and you can see this is the still ops, but the password has not been cached for the other session LUID. But for this LUID session, the password is cached, so it's good to go. Now at this point it has, so let's just at this point it has all the information that it is required. So it has copied the local address. So let's just copy this and dump in this memory region. Here at the 30 offset, you can see there is an address 10DD7C764AA0. Let's match this with the one that we have in the else's process. It's the 7C764AA0. 7C764AA0. So you can see these both values are equal. And 4AE0, 4AE0, 0B20, 0B20. So it has now retrieved all this information. Now it will call this function secure LSA generic creates output. So this will handle the generic output. So here it will switch over and print different things as well. But we have already placed the breakpoint, so let's just click on the continue button, and here you can see it's getting the Unicode string, and the first one from the LH, this one is the user. So right now username is not here. It will go and read the username and put that in this buffer. And then the Unicode string, you can see this is for the domain. And the domain is the desktop fv68 at 6e. So let's just confirm this. Second is the domain, and it's the desktop fv68 at 6e. And the third one is the encrypted text. So encrypted text looks like this. The size could be the 8, maximum 8. Okay, so this is the encrypted text, and it starts with the 6FAV and ends at 97. So let's So here it is calling the LSA unprotect memory function. So now we are currently at this location, LSA unprotect memory. So it's passing the password here now from the log session list. So let's see the password buffer. Here, if you look at the password buffer, it's the 6FAVA01B. Let's just verify whether it's the correct one or not. 6FAVA0, and it ends with the F797. So it's the correct information that we retrieved. So this is the encrypted text. Now here's a interesting part that we have. It will call the LSA encrypt memory function, and here it's the false. That means it is not going to encrypt, but it's going to decrypt. And we are inside this function. And if you look at the crypt function, it's the bcrypt decrypt. And here the initialization vector, it's retrieving the initialization vector. And the interesting part is that based on the size of the encrypted text, so here you can see the encrypted text size is 8. So if it is divisible by 8, then that will be the DS key to decrypt this particular text. Otherwise, it will go with the AES. Now the memory is 8, so 8% is 8 is 0, so it will never enter here. So it will go to the DES decryption. So it will select the DS key. So this key is already retrieved from the else's process memory in this function. Not here, it's not here, but in the incel functions where all these informations were retrieved. So here we have the CV will be divided, size of the IV will be divided by 2. This is the size of IV. So for the AS, full initialization vector is used, but for the DS, half of the initialization vector is used. And it's calling the bcrypt decrypt function. And just look at the result here once I step over from this function. So everything is now set here accordingly. And then if I step over here, you can see the plaintext CWL. So this is how the tools like Mimikaz and other tools extract the information from the else's process memory, like the W-digest, and there are other credentials that you can extract from the memory. So here, let's just print the information for the password. If it is there, it will print the password. And here it should have printed the password CWL already. So this is how the tools like Mimikaz and other tools which is like capable of decrypting the W-digest cached credentials, extract the credentials. So hope you like this lab session. So now we will jump into our offering. So we Cyber Warfare Lab team present you the new course, a new mini course called Certified Red Team Grade Ops Infiltrator CRT-CIO, and this is totally a beginner level course. So whoever is interested in the red teaming, whoever is currently jumping into the red teaming sector, so they can have this course. Whoever is interested in this field, they can have this course. But this is totally a beginner course. It's unlike this. This is a little bit complicated, but this is totally a beginner course. So this course involves the digging into the Windows credentials, how credentials are stored, and in which format credentials are stored. And here we also analyze the credentials format that is being stored in the Windows operating system and where it is being stored. So different components, we look into the different components like DB API, W-digest, LSS process, Wi-Fi browser registry, and few more others as well. And we will also so here we will be doing with the available tools that that are used to decrypt one of the components. And so we also learn like how we can perform the how we can decrease the detection of such tools so that it will be helpful in the red team assessment. Like instead of like just bringing the Mimikaz itself, how we can decrease the detection rate so that we can execute the Mimikaz in the red team assessment, something like that. Like we will talk about the basic general evasion scenario here. And then so from up to here, it's a totally beginner, but we slightly move from the beginner to the intermediate level. So we do similar kind of thing that we just did earlier in the manual dumping credentials. But this is just a teaser to our upcoming course, which will be delivered very soon. So this will be the little bit teaser for that upcoming course, and don't get like and you shouldn't be frustrated by this complicated stuff if you are just a beginner. So this is just a slightly like moving into the intermediate level, nothing more than that. For the upcoming course that will be delivered very soon. And here we will be creating a simple tool to extract the credentials from the particular component. So this is how the roadmap for this course goes like. So first, obviously, we need to enroll in this course. To enroll that, you can simply visit this link. You can go there and you can simply enroll in this course. And after that, you will be provided with the study materials and the exercises. So there will be the videos and exercises as well. And so once you are comfortable with the study materials and once you are complete going through the course, you can go and attempt the quizzes. And if you achieve the 85% in the quiz, you will be earning the certification. And one good news is that we are giving one seat giveaway for the lucky participator who is currently in this webinar. So the lucky participator will be emailed, and if he has like win the seat, then he will be emailed, or somehow he will be connected through our support team. And these are the references. So here, if you want to learn more about the W Digest, you can go in the link. And if you want to enroll in our course, you can go in this link as well. And if you want to um, play with the Mimikatz source code, you can go in the link, in this link. So thank you for this webinar. So thank you for attending this webinar. And if you have any questions, you can drop in the chat. Yeah, the slide and the presentation will be shared, and we will shortly uploading this video in the we will shortly uploading video in our website. You can go, and in the event section you will be shortly seeing this video there. Not in the event, but in the webinar series. So you will be shortly seeing the materials that we are just going through here, and the video as well. So, so the IDs and software tool that are used in the demo it's a x64 debug, and then other one is the Visual Studio Code. So why should you understand this at the function level? It's because like if you want to create your own tool, like sometimes just running the Mimikaz in the assessment is not a good idea, because it's going to be detected. So sometimes you might need to uh, uh, write your script on your own, or maybe you might need to go into the details to understand the concept, and to create your own kind of mini tool, so that you can run that without that will be a little bit evasive than running the Mimikaz itself. So if you understand these stuffs, then you can write your own kind of tool. So it's not necessary to use the tool if you are talking about the Mimikatz. Uh, if you are talking about the Mimikatz, then it's not necessary to use the same tool, but it's just for the demonstration purpose. Like, this is a really awesome tool, and you can gain lots of information from that tool. The free seat will be selected by our team only. So the lucky winner will be receiving the email, or maybe our team will be reaching out to the lucky winner. Thank you everyone for joining this webinar. So we will be soon ending this webinar. So the video materials will be uploaded in our website in the CWL webinar series. If we go there,